Hey everybody! Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to discuss the biggest comment that I get on my YouTube videos. We're Douglas and Esperanza, and we decided to leave our lives in the US and move to magical Loreto, Mexico, where we built our boutique resort Pufferfish Villas from the ground up and work running it and saving to expand in the future. Please come with us to follow our journey and live before you die. So today we are going to discuss the cost of living in Mexico and specifically groceries. Now, I have had comments on our videos that say, boy, what happened? We just got back from there and things have gotten expensive. Food is really the same price as the USA. Baja Mexican, the most expensive place you can go, is not any cheaper than the United States now. I live here. We're moving to Arizona, much cheaper. So as you can see, a lot of people are commenting that it's really expensive in Mexico. One of the comments I get very often is, oh, I used to go to Mexico in the 80s or the 90s and I could get a taco for 10 cents and it's so expensive now. Well, Mexico is not in a bubble. It experiences inflation like everywhere else in the world. And so you can't expect that you were in Mexico 40 or 50 years ago and the prices are going to be the same 50 years later. So another influence of prices in Baja California and Baja California Sur, the two states on the Baja Peninsula, in Mexico, is that we are extremely isolated from mainland Mexico, and we are a desert environment that does not grow much food at all. There is some little amount of food grown in the mountains, usually in the highlands, in the center of the peninsula, but it's very limited, and the number of different items that they grow is very limited. So you can see that we are a long way by truck from where they grow the food and to bring it here. And there are there's really no shipping between the peninsula and the mainland. And so all of the food, or the vast majority of any food that's going to come to Baja from southern Mexico, is going to come by a truck all the way up around the top and then down the Baja Peninsula to Loreto. So, because of this, especially produce and items like that that are perishable, you see a lot of those items come from Southern California. And the only thing I can guess is that it's just less expensive to buy them and ship them over the border and bring them down to Baja from Southern California than to ship them all the way from southern Mexico here up and around and back down. So I wanted to find a way that I could compare prices here where I am in Loreto, Mexico, which is on the Baja Peninsula, and I wanted to compare that to where we came from, Southern California, specifically the San Diego area. I originally thought, I'm gonna go to the store here, I'm gonna find all these items, I'm gonna take pictures of them or video or do something like that, and then I'm gonna go home and try to find all those items on a store in the US and compare them. For one, this would have been a lot of work going to the store, trying to find the items that I want to in the store. You know, there's always all these items, you're like, where is that? You go through the store 3 times looking for something and you can't find it. So it would have took a lot of time. And then if I didn't get all the information about the product, like the price, like the volume or the weight or anything else, then this isn't gonna work. So luckily, we have a store here called Bodega Aurea. It is owned by Walmart. It is a Mexican, I would call it kind of a Mexican discount Walmart type store that was purchased by Walmart. And they have been kind of Walmartized. And part of that process is that they carry Walmart products, Great Value, Equate, all these brands that are Walmart store brands, and they offer store pickup, just like they do in Walmart in the US. And I went and checked, and the prices online for store pickup are exactly the same as in the store. And it's the same way at Walmart in the US. So I was like, this is perfect, because now I can go on to the computer, go to both the Bodega Araya site and shop at our local store, find all the products I want to find there, and then I can find the exact same products at a Walmart store near where we used to live in Southern California, in San Diego area, and then I can do a full comparison. So that's what I did. And the other thing that I wanted to do is figure out how to compare apples to apples identically. So first thing I tried to do is products that are branded products. I tried to find the exact same brand, the exact same flavor, style, whatever in both stores so I could compare directly. A lot of products I'm able to do that, and you'll see that. Other products like produce, of course, most of it doesn't have a brand, or you're not going to be able to find the brand easily. But produce is pretty comparable. Aroma tomato here is aroma tomato there, and if you buy it by the pound, you're getting pretty much the same thing. So that is pretty easy to compare produce. Dairy items are generally, you can find the same thing. Strawberry yogurt, sour cream, whole milk. You can find the same things in both places. Dairy brands are going to be different because dairy brands are usually local to you, wherever your location is. And that's same here. There's local dairy brands to Baja, and there's local dairy brands up in San Diego area. So, but they're very comparable, and as long as you keep the sizes the same, that's pretty easy to compare to. And then the next question is, how do you compare products when they're different sizes? Now, even things that seem like they should be exactly the same size, like Head and Shoulders shampoo, and I find the same brand, the same type of shampoo with the same graphic on the bottle. So this is identical. The shape of the bottle is the same. Everything's the same between US and Mexico. But guess what? There are different amounts of volume of shampoo in those two containers. Even though everything else is identical, they put different amounts of shampoo. Now, I don't know if this is because of the whole shrinkflation thing that's been going on in the US, where they're sizing down, they're putting less product in the same size bottles or whatever, but whatever it is is almost no products that are the same volume or same weight in both stores, in both places. Very few things are, like canned soda, canned beer, those are 12-ounce cans, so those are usually the same size. So I had to find a way to accurately compare the products between the two locations. And I figured the best way to do this is to break down the product into price per weight or price per volume, and then standardize that to a weight and a volume and a currency so that everything is the same. And so that is what I do in the spreadsheet. Everything that is a dry weight gets converted to dollars per pound. I standardize all volumes to US dollars per liter. The few products that are exactly the same, which is not very many, like cans of beer, cans of soda, things like that, are just compared directly because they're a direct comparison. There's a few other items I had to make up my own thing, like sheets of toilet paper and sheets of paper towels. In that case, I actually did it by the sheet. I put this all into a spreadsheet because I love spreadsheets. I put it all in formulas so that it self-calculates everything. I came up with 60 items that I looked up in both places. I found the same, very similar or identical items in both stores in the US and in Mexico. And I compared all of those items for their prices in a standardized price, a price per pound, price per volume, or exactly identical pricing. And I put this all into a spreadsheet, and then I've got a full total if you would have bought these 60 items, and how much would you pay, and is it more expensive in Mexico or more expensive in the US? Then I had to make a presentation because nobody wants to dig through a huge spreadsheet with 60 items on it and a whole bunch of calculation cells and all this stuff. So I took that spreadsheet and I made a presentation out of it. I decided I wanted to be totally straightforward. So this presentation has every single product, and it has the screenshot of the Mexican store page with the price and the weight, the screenshot of the Walmart store in the US page, and then it has the spreadsheet line which tells you the comparison and how the products compare. So let's take a look at this presentation. This is the landing page for the Bodega Araya. The other store I picked was in Encinitas because they had the most products that were the same, and it's set for pickup there also. That is in Southern California, right near where we used to live. And this is a Walmart. People are going to say Walmart isn't the cheapest place and Bodega Araya isn't the cheapest place to shop. You're probably right. If you shop around, you might be able to find some of these items cheaper somewhere else. I'm trying to compare apples to apples, and this is as apples as you can get. Let's do the first one. So this is how they're all set up. We've got the Mexican products on the left, the American products on the right in blue. The Mexican products are in green. And then you can see that the bananas are 30 pesos per kilo. And these bananas are 50 cents a pound, okay, up here. And so how this works is, here's the price, it's 30 pesos per kilo. Price in the US is $1.50 per kilo. And then convert kilos to pounds, it's 68 cents a pound because it's 2.2 pounds per kilo. On the US side, 50 cents is the price, and it's 50 cents per pound. So you've got 68 cents a pound in Mexico compared to 50 cents a pound in the US. So for this particular product, it's 18 cents a pound cheaper in the US. And the Mexican savings percent is a negative number, meaning it's more expensive in Mexico. 36% more expensive in Mexico. All right, that's how all of these items are going to be. So let's just run through them here and we'll take a look. Next item on the list, Roma tomatoes. Mexico wins on this one at 88 cents a pound opposed to $1.28 a pound in the US. So 30% savings for Mexico. Then we have avocados, aguacates. Avocados are 30 pesos for 5 pieces, or 30 cents a piece. In the US, the avocados are 80 cents each. And so this particular one, I went with a per item price because that's how they're priced. You have a 50-cent difference per avocado here, 62% savings in Mexico. Next item, Gala apples. Now this was surprising to me because Gala apples actually come from Washington, even here. Our Gala apples come from Washington State. And so our apples are $1.27 a pound. In the US, it was $1.37 a pound. So Mexico wins 7% cheaper still, even though they ship all the way from Washington. Next one is cantaloupe. Cantaloupe, 80 cents a pound in Mexico, 96 cents a pound in the US, so 17% less expensive in Mexico. There are going to be more items that are less expensive in the US, so don't worry. I didn't pick particular items just because I was trying to make this be more expensive. I picked items that would be, most of these items are items that we would purchase if we went on a shopping trip. A few of them are not, because we don't drink milk, so we don't ever buy milk. We don't drink beer. We don't buy beer. There's a couple other items we'd probably never buy on this list, but they're items that most other people would buy, so that's why I included them. I tried to do a whole range of items, but there are a lot of produce items on here because we cook almost all of our meals at home, so we buy a lot of fruit and produce, or a lot of produce, and so that would be a big part of our shopping trip. Okay, next we have white potatoes. White potatoes are $1.07 a pound in Mexico, $1.20 a pound in the US, 10% savings in Mexico. Poblano peppers. Now this isn't probably so that surprising because peppers are very heavily used in Mexico of all kinds. Poblano peppers are very heavily used, kind of a staple item. 105 in Mexico, 159 in the US, 60% savings in the US, or in Mexico. Broccoli. Broccoli is $1.52 per pound in Mexico, $1.78 per pound in the US, so a 14% savings in Mexico. So next we have cherry tomatoes. You can see that it is a product of the US. It is cheaper in the US. We have $5.03 opposed to $4.77, so it is 5% cheaper in the US. Strawberries. Strawberries are $1.57 a pound in Mexico, $2.98 a pound in the US, so that's a 47% discount. Now, I know strawberries vary in different parts of the US. Some parts of the US are really cheap at some times. It's the same with everything. So this is September 6th is the date I did this, and you get what you get as far as prices go. I can't go every time of the year and try to find the cheapest price of the year for each product. This is a snapshot on September 6th. Next one is watermelon. Mexico wins again, 34 cents, 65 cents in the USA, 47% cheap discount. Limes. Limes are very heavily used in Mexico. Mexico wins on this, $1.03 a pound, opposed to $1.25 a pound, 17% less. White onions. USA wins on white onions. They're $1.32 a pound in Mexico, $1.14 in the USA, 15% less in the USA. Cucumbers. Mexico wins here, 84 cents opposed to 90 cents, pretty close, only a 7% difference. Iceberg lettuce. Mexico wins again, 75 cents per head, opposed to $1.88 a head in the US, and so that's a 60% savings in Mexico. All right, here's something that's kind of on our guilty pleasures, French onion dip. And we actually have this both from the US and Mexico because we bought it in both places and have it here. So 60 pesos for the dip in Mexico. That's $5.68 a pound. It is $3.98 in for this package in the US, which is 46 cents an ounce, which makes it $7.51 a pound. So $1.83 more expensive per pound for the onion dip. And so that's a 24% savings in the US. All right, onion powder. Onion powder is something we use. Basically $3.62 a pound in Mexico, $5.90 a pound in the US. So it's a 38% less expensive in Mexico. Choco Krispies. This is a Kellogg's brand of chocolate Krispies. In Mexico, it's $3.35 a pound. In the U.S., $3.37 a pound. So virtually the same price. Bimbo bread. Now, this is another surprising one because Bimbo is a Mexican brand that has made its way into the U.S. But the Bimbo bread is less expensive in the U.S., the white Bimbo bread. So this is the same thing, soft white Bimbo bread, $2.25 a pound in Mexico, $1.58 a pound in the U.S. So 41, almost 42% less expensive in the U.S. Oro wheat multigrain bread. We don't eat this, but I know a lot of people do because a lot of people leave it here in the villas when they leave. So Mexico wins here, $2.84 a pound, $2.85 in the U.S. It's basically the same price, but we'll see how it goes. Next is hamburger buns. Hamburger buns are pretty close to $1.40 for 6 buns as opposed to $1.53 for 6 buns. So 8% less expensive in Mexico. Long grain rice. Mexico is a big winner here, 56 cents a pound as opposed to 93 cents a pound. 40% savings for rice in Mexico. Pam spray. This was another one that we did by the can because the cans are the exact same size, which is surprising, but they are. So Pam spray is $3.55 a can in Mexico, $5.12 in the U.S., 30% cheaper in Mexico for Pam spray. Rice Krispie treats. This was another one that we did per pound, $7.83 a pound in Mexico, $6.26 a pound in the USA. So USA wins by 25% on Rice Krispie treats. Pop-Tarts, USA wins again, 13%. Lay's potato chips. These are, Sabritas is a Lay's brand. It's PepsiCo. It's a Lay's brand. They are the exact same chips. Trust me, we eat a lot of these. We shouldn't, but we do. And Lay's potato chips are less expensive by a little tiny bit. In the USA, 3% less expensive. Doritos. Doritos we generally don't eat, but once in a while. Nacho cheese Doritos, less expensive in Mexico, $4.99 as opposed to $7.72 a pound, 35% less in Mexico. Here is microwave popcorn. We do eat this from time to time. I couldn't find the butter lovers in Mexico, but all the different flavors were the same price, so I just compared it that way. This is compared by pound. $4.05 a pound in the Mexico, $4.08 in the U.S., so they're basically the same price. Refried beans, canned refried beans. These are 2 different brands because I couldn't find the same brand in cans in both places, but these are pretty comparable. We've eaten them both. They're pretty similar beans. 63 cents a can in Mexico, $1.56 in the USA. That's 59%, almost 60% less expensive in Mexico. All right, here's a big one. I ate a lot of eggs. Usually we don't even buy them in 18. We usually buy them in the big packs of 36, the big flats, because most eggs are sold in the flats of 36 here. But that's hard to find in the U.S. and you can't find it in a Walmart store in the U.S. online. So I went with the 18 pack. The eggs are actually the same price, whether they're 18 or in the 36 pack here. I don't know why. You can even buy eggs one at a time here and they're the same price. So 18 eggs, 54 pesos. So that's $2.70. 18 eggs in the U.S. Oh my gosh, they're expensive now. $6.72 for 18 eggs in the U.S. That is a 59% difference in price. All right, vegetable oil. We don't really use vegetable oil anymore, but a lot of people do. Cheaper in Mexico, $1.81 a liter, as opposed to $3.10 a liter in the U.S., 41% less. Olive oil. We do use a lot of olive oil. This is $13.50 in the U.S. a liter and $16.36 a liter in Mexico, $16.36 a liter in the U.S., 17% less in Mexico. All right, next we have milk. We don't really drink any milk. We rarely ever have it, but a lot of people drink a lot of milk. Whole milk in Mexico, $1.12 a liter. USA, $1.43 a liter, 21% less in Mexico. Carnation, evaporated milk. Once in a while we use it to do some cooking. $2.71 a liter in Mexico, $5.20 a liter in the USA, so 47% less expensive in Mexico. Sour cream. I eat a lot of sour cream. These are comparable. $1.55. They're the same size, so we just went with a full container. $1.55 in Mexico, $1.24 in the U.S., 25% less in the U.S. So U.S. wins on sour cream, which is a bummer because I like to eat a lot of sour cream. We also eat a lot of yogurt, strawberry yogurt, $1.33 a liter in Mexico. In the U.S., $2 a liter, so about 33% less in Mexico. Greek yogurt. I do eat some Greek yogurt too. $2.56 as opposed to $3.70, so 30% less in Mexico. Here's a whole chicken. I probably would never buy a whole chicken and cook it, but a lot of people do. You're $1.11 a pound in Mexico as opposed to $1.46 a pound in the U.S., so 23% savings in Mexico. Chicken breast is something we do buy and use a lot. Boneless, skinless chicken breast. Mexico, you're going to pay $2.36 a pound. USA, $2.67 a pound. Pretty close, 11% different. All right. Man, there's a lot of items on this list. Next is ground beef. 70-30 ground beef. Pretty much the same. $2.25 a pound in Mexico. $6.44 a pound in the USA. So much more expensive in the USA. 65% more. Pork chops. We don't really eat pork chops. I probably would never buy them, but a lot of people may. And I couldn't find really steaks in Mexico for sale in the grocery store because that's kind of not how they sell it. At least not in the bodega store. So I use this as kind of a steak replacement. Pork chops, $2.91 in Mexico a pound, $5.47 in the USA, 46% difference. Bacon, everybody loves bacon. And if you love bacon, it's cheaper in the US by quite a bit. $7.09 in Mexico, $5.84 in the US, so 21% less in the US for bacon. All right, now we're going to get into alcohol because people drink alcohol and they want to know what it costs in Mexico. Captain Morgan's rum is pretty standard. I picked some things that were easy to find both places. I tried to pick kind of a variety of stuff just so you could see. We don't drink all this stuff, so this isn't like something we'd buy every time we go to the store. Mexico, $12.50 a liter. US, $18.64 a liter, and that's in California. And that's pretty cheap in California because in Oregon it would be way more than that because Oregon is really expensive with their liquor. Anyways, 32% savings on Captain Morgan in Mexico. Then we go to a vodka. This is like a bottom level vodka. I was trying to compare the two because there's not very much vodka left available in the US, or I mean in Mexico. Here is a bottom level vodka, pretty close, $7.25 to $7.97 a liter, 9% more in the US. Here is tequila. Now, of course, Mexico wins on tequila almost every time. This is a tequila that we love, Cabrito. It's a brand of tequila that they use here a lot for their house tequila in bars. Their well tequila, and it's really, really good, and it's inexpensive. $7.04 a liter, as opposed to $17.31 a liter for a comparable low, not low end, but kind of lower level, but 100% agave tequila in the U.S. Waza. 59% savings. Then I went to something I could find exactly the same. Jose Cuervo, Gold, Especial, Agave Azul, This is exactly the same tequila in both places. $10.35 in Mexico, $17.31 in the USA, 40% less for Jose Cuervo. Now we'll go to Tecate. This is the biggest beer drink here in our area. I don't drink beer, so I've never had it with Tecate, but a lot of people drink them here. This is just compared to the can. This is a 12-pack, $9.85 in Mexico, $11.27 in the U.S., so 12% less expensive for Tecate here. Here's Modelo Especial. This again is available. It's exactly the same. It's available in both places in the same size cans. So 12 packs, $4.75 here in Mexico, $8.48 in the USA, 43%, almost 44% more. Kahlua is a product of Mexico. You'd expect it to be less here. It's a lot less expensive. $11.95 a liter here, $29.31 in the USA a liter, almost 60% less expensive. Coca-Cola rules Mexico. It's the number one drink. It's probably not a good thing, but I put it on here because everybody here drinks it. So in a plastic bottle, around 1 liter, because they aren't the same, but Mexico price is $1.90 for a liter. And, oh, actually, that is $1.90. So this is wrong. I just found a mistake in my presentation. This is a 2-liter bottle that I had for $38. So it is actually half this price because this is for 1 liter. So it's $1.90 for 2 liters. That would make it 95 cents for 1 liter. And Mexico actually wins this one. 95 cents as opposed to $1.22. So Mexico is going to be about 15-20% cheaper on the plastic bottles. Man, can't believe I didn't catch that. I don't have any other mistakes, I'm sure, in my presentation. Next is 12-ounce cans. These are easily compared. So this is comparing can to can. 98 cents a can in Mexico, 65 cents a can in the US. So Mexico is more expensive by a long shot. 50% more expensive than the US in cans of Coca-Cola. All right, now we're going to get to some houseware stuff. Great value toilet paper ends up being 58% less in Mexico. Paper towels ends up 67% less in Mexico. Dove original barred soap. This is exactly the same product, 48% less in Mexico. Head and Shoulders. This is the exact same product, almost the exact same packaging, 25% less in Mexico. I'm going to go a little faster because I got so many items to go through and this is taking forever. Probably everybody's already tuned out and nobody's watching the rest of this video, so I could probably just start doing crazy stuff now, but maybe there's 1 or 2 people still watching it. Okay, this is a very inexpensive, like the cheapest shampoo I could find, because that's what I use, because I don't have any hair. 2.3% less in Mexico, or in the US, so basically about the same price. Lubriderm lotion, these are the same intense skin repair lotion, 35% less in Mexico. This is Equate liquid hand soap. This is coconut versus agave, aloe vera, but it's basically the same thing, 34% less in Mexico. Colgate toothpaste, very similar to the same thing, 65% less in Mexico. Hopefully there's still somebody watching this video. Probably not, because it's probably really boring, but I wanted to go through this. So if you made it to the end, or if you fast forwarded to the end, here it is. We are going to go over the spreadsheet and we are going to look at the final result. The products that are less expensive in Mexico are green, highlighted in green. Products that are less expensive in the USA are highlighted in blue. These are all the things that we just went over. All right. Now, I wanted to see overall for this entire basket of products, which is representative of a shopping trip, what would you save in whatever place is less expensive? And so since I have this broken down into dollars per pound or dollars per liter or, exact products, I can say this theoretical shopping trip, I went to the store and I bought 1 pound of everything that's a dry volume. I bought 1 liter of everything that's a wet volume. And I bought 1 of each of the items where it's an actual item compared to item. So this would give you a little bit more than you probably would buy of a few items, because you normally wouldn't buy a pound of some of this stuff, but it's pretty close, and it's the only way to really compare apples to apples and get a full shopping trip, a full shopping basket. So you can see there's a lot of green in this spreadsheet, and when we go down to the bottom, we see this is the price of our shopping trip in Mexico, buying the 1 pound of every one of these items or 1 liter of every one of these items. In the US, this is the price of the exact same thing. So $225.09 in US dollars, all in US dollars, as opposed to $3.41 and $141.20. So with this hypothetical shopping cart of 60 items that you would normally buy, you would save $116.11 in Mexico, buying the same volumes of all these items. That's the only way to really compare them accurately. That is a 34% savings in Mexico over the US for this shopping trip. Now, I know people are going to say, this doesn't compare, this doesn't work. This, I believe, is the most accurate representation of a data-driven spreadsheet to compare US and Mexico prices as fairly as possible across a wide variety of products. In my analysis, I found that Mexico is 34% cheaper on grocery items, and that is pretty much what I've been telling everybody for the last 2 years. Generally, all those comments that I get where people say it's way more expensive in Mexico, it's way more expensive there, I say usually, from what I can tell, going to the grocery store, it's 30 to 40% cheaper. That's what I've responded to almost everybody in the comments, and it's 34% for this basket of items. So I believe I am right in there at 30 to 40% cheaper for grocery items. Now, in closing, I purposely picked grocery items because that is something that is constrained, and you can get apples to apples and compare prices. You cannot do that with restaurants because every restaurant is different. Every restaurant here is different. Every restaurant in the US is different. They have different qualities of food. They have different skills in the chefs. You have a different type of food that they cook. So there's no way to compare restaurants to restaurants, because I can find a restaurant where you can buy a 50-cent taco here and you can get 3 of them and it's a full meal and they're good. So for $1.50, you can get a good meal. I would call it a fast food meal. Can I get the same thing in the US? Sure. I can go to Jack in the Box and get Jack in the Box tacos, 2 for $1, and those are a fast food meal that would probably be in about the same price range. Now, can I go find a $150 steak dinner here? Yep. I can find a $150 surf and turf dinner here in Loreto. And of course, I can guarantee you can find one of those in San Diego area. You can probably find a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 dinner in the San Diego area, but that's ultra luxury and it's kind of out of the range of this. So what I will say for restaurants which again is my overall perception of living here for 2 years. I just went back to the US for 2 weeks a couple months ago, and I ate at a bunch of restaurants, what I would call similar food, and I purposely kept track of what it cost so I could do this comparison in my head. I still believe it's 30 to 50% cheaper at restaurants here in Mexico. Drinks are almost always significantly cheaper here, alcohol, and the food is generally going to be a little less expensive or the same price in a restaurant here. But where you really save is if you drink alcohol. The alcohol tends to be way less expensive. Thanks for watching. Thanks if you made it to the end. Thank you 1,000%, because I don't think anybody's going to make it to see this. I can probably just do crazy stuff now because there's nobody watching by this point. But anyways, thanks again, and never forget to live before you die.